Welcome to the Maine Outdoor Enthusiast podcast. I'm Paul.
And I'm Mark.
And today we got a special guest with us. We've got Joe Osgood Jr. from FBM Maine Outdoor Journal with us. So welcome, Joe.
Thank you. Welcome.
Nice to see you. We're big fans of the channel, huh, Dad?
We are. Yeah. I've been subscribed to that channel for quite a few years now. For a few years. I don't know how long it's...
Yeah, it must be getting close to 3 years now.
Is it?
Probably,
Yeah. Probably from the get-go then, Joe. I've watched your... and enjoy it. It's a good channel.
So Joe was the very first person that I didn't know that commented on my channel. So I said, hey, he'd be the good first guest to have on the podcast. So what brings you to the county?
Oh, I was making the trip up to check out the local bluegrass festival this weekend, taking a few sights and sounds.
You know, have you ever been, Dad?
I have not been. Of course, we know the guy that runs it, Steve, there.
Yep.
And I hear it's a really good time.
Yeah, this is my first year coming to this bluegrass festival. I've been to other ones in southern Maine, but this is the first one in the county.
Are you familiar with the guys performing?
I know a few of the groups. Yeah.
I was looking at their list or their set list or whatever, and I didn't recognize any of the names. But it looks like some guys from Alabama, kind of all over the country.
Yeah, all over the country.
Few from Maine.
They're some of the top bluegrass groups if you follow the bluegrass music at all. But
I didn't realize it was that
that
big of a thing.
Yeah, one of the names that I always, and I've never, like I say, I've never been to one of the festivals, is Blistered Fingers.
Oh, yeah.
Are they there this year?
Yeah, they're there.
That's the name
Blistered
that I...
Fingers?
Yeah.
Blistered Fingers. I've always heard that. I didn't see Alison Krauss or anything. If I may have considered going if Alison Krauss was there.
There's an old name. Yeah. So, Joe, you're originally a county boy.
Yep.
Born and raised.
Just barely. I grew up in the little town of Woodapitlock, Maine. Yeah. So that's just barely in the county, you know.
Was it
southern end of the county?
Was it Bancroft?
Yeah, Bancroft. Woodapitlock and Bancroft are right next door. Yeah. Most people recognize Woodapitlock sometimes, but Bancroft's the next little town.
How big's the population of Bancroft?
Bancroft was, I don't know, maybe 40 when I was living there. And Woodapitlock was all the way up to like 250. So people recognize that better when I say Woodapitlock.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, Joe, we'll kind of just start with, I kind of want to get kind of your story and kind of how you matriculated as an outdoorsman to this point in time. So what were some of your earliest memories of hunting and fishing?
Yeah, sure. My grandparents on both, my grandfathers on both sides and my father were big outdoorsmen. So I was brought up in the outdoors right along. I've changed some of the way I do things from when I was younger because they was all big riders when I was young. You know, when it was deer hunting, it was always ride. You know, you'd always get a shot or two at a buck if you put on enough miles every year. But then as I got older, you know, I got more into the woods and started learning the woods hunting more. But my grandfathers and my father were both big trappers, so right from the time I could get my trapping license when I was 10, used to do a lot of trapping when I was young, right up through high school and college. I haven't done any trapping for the last few years other than bears, but used to do a lot when I was younger.
So you talked about trapping. There was a guy named Phil. So I listened to your podcast.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I did a couple of pilots of a podcast back in the beginning.
And he was a big trapper?
Well, he actually hadn't trapped before. Him and I, he always wanted to trap. And he was an old guy that I always used to hang out with that had a camp in my town there in Woodapitlock. Okay. And we'd go smelting. And he had some bear hounds. We used to run bears and we'd deer hunt. And he always wanted to trap some. So I had, from the time I was 10 up through to, few years after that, I always just did like muskrats, easy things, things like that. And we wanted to get into trapping some foxes and coyotes, and my grandfather's always trapped foxes and coyotes, and my father. So my father I'd gone with him quite a bit, but my father just kind of gave me a good tutorial there one Saturday or Sunday before the season started, and old Phil and I got all the stuff together ready, and I was in 8th grade, and he would, every single morning we'd go out and check a line. I don't know, we probably had 24 sets out, so he'd take me every morning before school and drop me off at school at 8 o'clock, and we'd...
How many 8th graders do that nowadays?
Not very many.
Not many.
That's awesome.
I think we got eight foxes and coyotes that year. I can't remember how many of each, but it was 8 foxes and coyotes. But
Okay.
Yeah.
So you don't do that anymore?
Well, I haven't the last few years just because I did it for quite a while. I used to work at a paper mill, and I had a schedule that gave me lots of time. Now I have to decide which time I want to spend on what activity, and I tend to go more towards the deer hunting and the summer activities than the trapping. Something's got to give, you know.
That's right. That's right.
And my boys aren't really old enough to trap yet. The oldest, he'll be coming up that age, so I think we'll start doing some trapping in the next few
so you're
years.
going to introduce them into?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. It's something I've wanted to do, but again, like you mentioned, you can only have so many hobbies.
Exactly.
And there's so much stuff vying for your time. So it's like, yeah, there's going to be some give and take. And that's probably lower on the list.
It really enhances your outdoor skills and everything else because everything is sign based, and you know where animals travel. You know,
I bet
if you know where fur-bearing animals travel, all the other animals you like to hunt travel there as well. And you always got an eye out for sign, you know, tracks and scat, and you learn corridors where things move because you know you got thousands of acres and you're trying to take a 2-inch paw, put it in a 3-inch trap. You know,
Lord, yeah,
out of thousands of acres.
That's amazing.
You know what I mean? So
that's amazing.
It
so
makes you a better sportsman overall.
So you can do some deer scouting.
Oh yeah,
while you're right there.
Yeah, I mean, all those animals are running the same corridors. You know,
anything to get you out in the woods.
Yeah.
So Joe, how's your style of hunting changed since you were a little? You kind of touched on it there a little bit. But.
Oh yeah. I pretty much all out in the woods now. I don't do hardly any riding. I might take the kids for a ride once in a while. You know, especially bird hunting. I still do a lot of bird hunting riding. I haven't lost that tradition.
No, and we do.
Same here.
And we do, Joe.
Same here, Joe.
Yeah. I don't. Yeah, I do. Of course, I've only really been tracking the last maybe four years, maybe, you know, tracking steady.
Yeah.
I tracked a few times before that, but didn't really know too much about that because in the area I live, generally, there's always exceptions. Some years you'll get maybe just a couple of decent tracking snows, and then it turns right to an icy cross the next day because it warms up too much.
Yep.
You don't get a lot of time, but the last few years I've been spending, you know, traveling to the bed of snow and learning it, and have been able to knock some down. But
you've shot a few tracking.
Yep.
Right?
Well, yeah, I shot one actually truly tracking. I've shot some accidentally when I was tracking.
Oh, yeah.
But I didn't shoot the one I was tracking.
We count those, Joe.
Yeah.
They eat up the same way.
But I've had actually my best luck I've had is still hunting and calling at the same time. You know,
no kidding.
When it's in those the two that I got on my channel that's on bare ground. Both of those I called back when I was just going along in dry, crunchy leaves.
Did you know
bad
they were
condition.
there, or you were just walking and calling?
Didn't know it is there. Just taking 4, 5, 6, 7 steps, stopping.
Yeah.
Doing a couple grunts.
That's something I don't do enough of.
Yep.
Is calling.
And it's funny you're mentioning that because I was thinking last night, I think I've called in either rattling or with the grunt tube. I've called in 4 or 5. Now, most of them I never got a shot at. One I did. At 2 I did. 2 I did. So, yeah. So I've done it twice. Once rattling and once with the mouth tube there, grunt call.
Yep.
You just use your voice?
I do usually. Yep.
Yeah, you've got kind of a deep voice.
Yep.
I can see you getting away with that.
Yeah.
So the deer you were tracking and shot, how did that go down?
So that was actually in the area I live in. I believe that was the last day of the season, last day of the regular firearm season. I was at the house for some reason that morning, puttering around, and my father called me up and said he saw, I think it was like a crotchhorn and a couple does across the road down the road from my house, probably 3 or 4 miles. So I said, well, I'll run down there, and it's the last day. Well, I'll track that crotchhorn and see what happens. And I found where they crossed, and I followed, and that 2 does was going with that crotchhorn, and we went, I don't know, 3/4 of a mile, and they got on a real beat down trail, like over in Jackman, where they call them like migration trails, when at the end of the season the deer are coming down where they spend the winter, and they just beat right down, you know, like a foot wide right down to the ground.
Yeah.
And you couldn't, it was froze hard where in that trail, you know, it was hard to pick out where the track was. So I just kept going on that trail trying to see where they went off to the side. And I glanced up and looked, and up on there was like a hemlock knoll off to my right. And it opened up pretty good. And I caught the hind end of a deer up there. And the whole front of it was behind a big couple of hemlock that was coming up that was crotched there. So I brought my gun up, and I was holding the scope, trying to wait and see. And pretty soon, I could see it was feeding on something. I see the tip of the antlers sticking out beyond.
So he didn't know you were there.
He didn't know I was there at all.
Kidding.
No, because I was walking. It was pretty quiet walking.
Yeah.
That trail kind of went through a big cedar swamp, and then out of the back of the cedar swamp, it came right up on a hemlock knoll there. And he was up that knoll, and I came out of there, that bog, and those trees, I guess, must have blocked my sight enough. Of course, I was going pretty slow, because I didn't really know where they had cut off, so I was watching pretty close to see where they'd peeled off that main trail where I couldn't make sense of the track. So I see the tips of the antlers behind that tree, and I was just waiting and waiting for him to take a step forward. We took a step forward, and the tips of the antlers, what I see, that's all there was for antlers. They were just, might have been like a three-pointer. I don't know if that's the one my father saw or not.
Yeah.
So I was looking, and I said, well, I like the taste of deer meat. Pretty
Last
good.
day
I'm
of
going to
the
wait.
year.
So
Heck
he was about ready to step ahead, and then I caught some movement in my scope in the background, and I looked, and there was another buck with a lot bigger horns, or fairly a lot better horns, looking right into my scope the whole time.
No
But I was
kidding.
so concentrated on that one in the foreground that I wasn't even paying attention. So about that time, he was looking right at me down my scope. He turned and blew, and he ran and jumped behind a big crotched yellow birch, I remember, and it was about a foot wide between the crotches. And he jumped behind that, and I see him stop, and I shot
kidding.
through that crotch and hit him right in the mid ribs there. I could almost hear the wind go out of him when I shot. And he didn't go 15, 20 yards. He piled up. The other was a 8-pointer, I think, 180, I think, on the last day. Yeah, but that was the first one. Like I say, it was
Much of a drag to get it out.
600 yards, probably 600
not
yards.
bad.
No, it wasn't downhill.
No.
It was pretty good. Yep.
And that's a lot of the fun of it too. Is once the deer's down, for me, probably
Yep.
some people disagree. Is the whole process of getting it out.
Oh,
that whole. So that big buck saved that little guy's life.
He did.
He was that little one.
Yeah.
Didn't know how close he was to.
In that little one, he must have stood there another 30 seconds after I shot.
No way.
No, he didn't know what was going on. He was young and numb,
Oh,
I
my
guess.
word. Yeah, that's fun stuff.
Yep.
So Joe, how about you like to fish?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
How do you fish? What are your?
I do a lot of spring fishing, brooks and ponds.
Yep.
I used to do a lot of going around to the ponds with the bigger trout in them, but now I just kind of, the smaller dead waters and stuff with the 8, 10, 12, 14 inches, good trout. But I also do a lot of togue fishing, the old lead line way with the big spoons, with the big Murray spoons.
yeah.
Yeah.
The Dave Davis spoons.
Yeah, well, I use the Murrays, the single
Yeah,
big spoon.
and I've never owned them, Joe,
Yeah.
but I just remember back in the day they always talked about the Dave Davis spoons.
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
stuff.
That's like a whole string of spoons. Right? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
You were, and I was never a togue fisherman, but they would get it down so it's just tapping the bottom.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Super slow, less than a mile an hour.
Yeah, those spoons slow, and deep, and they would, they say you could feel it, just those spoons when
Just
they
touching the
rotated,
bottom?
just tapping the bottom.
No
That
kidding.
was the way they, maybe a 10-inch sucker or something.
Oh yeah, all sorts of different
going
baits,
for big stuff, and
Yep.
yeah.
So-
the lakes I grew up fishing, they didn't have any togue, so I was never raised to.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So you visit some lakes that are pretty popular
Oh yeah.
trolling spots.
Oh yeah. Because I live close to East Grand, West Grand, then that whole chain of lakes that goes West Grand. Those a lot of those are good togue fishing.
Yeah.
Junior, Scraggly, and Duck Lake, Bottle Lake. Those are some of those don't have togue, but some do.
That's something I haven't done a lot of is togue fishing.
Yeah.
Do you like togue?
Oh yeah,
Eating
I
it?
like
Do
the
you?
smaller ones. Yep.
How do you cook it?
I usually will take like a metal cake pan and put one of those wire cookie racks in the bottom.
Yeah.
And then I'll flay them and I'll lay them on those wire cookie racks with Limpton's French and onion soup mix sprinkled on it, just the
Okay.
dry powder.
Yeah.
And then you bake those in the oven and all that grease and oil will drain right out into the bottom.
Because they are greasy.
They are, yeah.
A
But
greasy
the
fish.
smaller ones are pretty good. Or lots of times I'll cook them in those racks that sandwich together on the open fire, and that'll let the grease drain out.
Right,
or
yeah.
even on my smoker, I'll smoke some.
That's
good.
something I've heard a lot of guys talk
Yeah.
about is smoking them.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, it's yeah, awesome.
Yep.
When they smoke them.
We've been making an annual trip up to Chamberlain every spring around Mother's Day weekend, and we do a lot
Pretty
of
popular, isn't it?
Oh yeah, we catch a lot of.
I watched those.
Nice
I've
trout.
seen those videos, Joe. If you're
Yeah.
going up to Chamberlain and stuff.
Yeah, your son caught a nice whitefish.
He did.
Was
Yep,
it?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's good whitefish
Those
fishing up there.
Yeah, those are good eating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are really good eating.
Now did you stay at Nugent's recently? That's what I
Yep.
thought. One of them there, you were staying at Nugent's there.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Oh, staying at Nugent?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's real nice.
Do they have to come out? You can't drive to it.
No, you got to take a boat there. He does have a little trail that he brings supplies in with his 4-wheeler, but
Okay.
you can't come in to stay that way. Yeah, it's all by boat access. Yeah, we've stayed there. Well, I my first trip I was 15, because my father had been going up there for years.
No kidding.
There was a few years I didn't make it, but they have like a main set of sporting camps. It's like 5 or 6, log cabins,
Yep.
similar we was talking about at McKenamack. The round
Yes,
log
okay.
cabins,
Yep.
Wood heat, gas lights, gas stove, gas fridge, nice. And then they have a bigger building up the lake they call the farm. It used to be one of the old logging farms years ago. They used to be
Okay.
they used to grow vegetables and everything else up there, I believe, for the old logging industry that used to be up in that area.
Okay.
But now that's a camp. I think that sleeps like 21, 22 people. You can rent that. The whole upstairs is all beds, and it's all big
No
open
kidding.
downstairs. So if you have a big group, you can stay up there. That's on a big point that comes out up there to Chamberlain.
I'll have to check that out.
Who
Sometime.
owns that now? It was a John Richardson a few years ago, Paul.
Yep.
He owned McNally's and Nugent's, but I think
Okay.
he got out of
He did.
yeah.
I believe one of the Thorntons that owns Freightliner of Maine owned
Okay.
it. And then he had this guy named Rob run it. And I forget Rob's last name, but I think Rob, I don't know if he actually owns it now, but he runs it.
Okay.
Yep. He's a real nice guy.
I
I always
think-
like the story behind it.
Yep.
Oh, at Nugent's?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great story.
That's-
how
that's
that
always
is
intrigued me.
fantastic. Yeah, he and Patty coming down and on a raft and just deciding that's where they were going to set up
Yep.
and life. And yeah, that's a great story.
You imagine that
Oh, yeah.
being like, oh, I'm just gonna
Throwing all your
Right.
worldly possessions on a raft, a wood stove, and where you landed, that's where you were going to live your life.
Right.
Yeah, that's
And,
crazy. And then they tried to get him out of there, and that's an interesting story too. How they tried to push him off and stuff. And yeah, the story goes he went down to the wharf with a rifle when they flew in there to
said, I'm
try
not,
to evict him.
Yeah.
I'm not going anywhere.
Wouldn't surprise
And he
me.
walked away. They flew off, and he walked back to the camp with a 100-year lease. So the story goes.
Yeah.
So the story. I don't know how true that is, but
Well, I'm glad he won.
yeah,
Yeah,
he did.
yes, Mr. Nugent.
Yeah,
you can
literally
stay
walked
here.
down to the wharf with a rifle to meet the guys that were there to try to get him off the land because he was squatting.
Yeah.
He had no title to that land.
Some days I wake up and I'd like to
Yeah.
do the same thing.
Yeah.
Disappear. And
Yeah.
So, Joe, so big question for you is, what got you to start a YouTube channel?
Actually, when I first started the YouTube channel, I wasn't even going to make it really
Just
so
doing it
much
for
public.
yourself,
I was
or-
doing it. I was always thinking about that. I had like 2 albums that summed up my home experience of my father and grandfather, and I couldn't tell you anything about my great grandfather, really. Other than his name, maybe. But I mean, now it's like a time capsule. Everything that I've done with my kids when they grow up, everything's not everything, but a lot of highlights in our life are preserved.
Yeah.
And we're preserved and saved there forever. Whatever's on the internet stays there forever. But then, I think I started out with a couple of real basic deer hunting videos, and then I think I killed a deer that first year that I started the YouTube channel, and I shared that one as public, and then got a lot of good feedback from it. So it just kind of I look back on those old ones, and they were pretty rough. I'm not an expert editor, got best equipment now, but back in the beginning, it was pretty shaky with pretty poor equipment.
But it's
it was
great.
fun.
It shows you your growth
Oh yeah,
from the
absolutely.
beginning to,
Yep.
yeah, those are valuable.
Yep.
Those first ones.
And I've kind of evolved over time. I got to a point, a year or two into it where I was filming everything that we did, or sometimes I was doing things just to make a film.
Right.
And I said, well, now we're getting a little bit
It's
away from
interfering with your-
yeah, this isn't what we started doing. So now probably a lot of people that follow my channel notice we don't post quite as much as we do. We do it when it feels right.
That's
you know,
right.
if we grab a camera and we get some good footage, but we don't try to make a production. During deer season, I try to film every day and try to make quite a few videos during deer season.
People like the deer hunting.
They do.
I'm
yeah.
amazed at the response.
Yep, they do.
I never would have expected.
Yeah.
And I think it's important because it's a kind of a dying thing.
Mhm.
And the more that can get out there,
Absolutely.
I mean, yeah. I mean, keep doing that. But yeah, you're right. You know, it can interfere with your family time and stuff
Oh,
with
yeah.
the kids, and it's kind of sticking a camera and stuff in everyone's face all the time. And
Yeah, the experience is definitely not the same when you're trying to make a an episode out of it. You know, it changes the experience.
yeah,
You're not just going fishing down the brook with your two kids.
No.
You know, everything changes.
it
so
does.
It's
It's
a lot
a-
of it doesn't get filmed anymore.
It's a
so
lot of work.
It is a lot
too.
of work. Yeah,
a lot of stinking work.
Yep.
One of the things that Joe was talking about, and I kind of envy you, Joe. I didn't have any grandfathers.
Yeah.
So my grandfather on my father's side, which is from this town, Fort Fairfield, he died when my dad was 9 years old. So, you know, I didn't get to spend any time in the woods and the grandfather on my mother's side, he lived away and he wasn't an outdoorsman, and I didn't really know him. So I had none of those experiences with my grandfather.
Oh yeah.
So I did with my dad, but my dad was a casual outdoorsman. He liked to do it, but he never shot a deer. All the years that he took me out and stuff, I learned very little about deer hunting other than he started a fire in me to do it. I wanted to do it and I wanted to know everything about it. But he was just a real casual outdoorsman. Get up and go for a little walk at 8 o'clock, be back at 10 or 11, have dinner, take a nap, go out and walk a road for a few hours in the afternoon. That was it. That was his bird hunting and deer hunting right there.
Yep.
Come back at night and have a drink and
Yeah.
yeah.
It was a power nap, right, Joe?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I'd laugh. My grandfather used to say the same thing.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
I spent a lot of time with one of my grandfathers down on a farm. And yeah, like mid-afternoon,
Oh yeah.
he'd be like, time for a power nap.
Especially during what you're talking about, old Phil there during smelting season. He was probably, I mean, he must have been close to 70 when we was doing all that.
No
and
kidding.
we would stay out till 2, 3 a.m.
Holy
sometimes.
smokes. I don't think I do that now.
We'd hit every brook that we could reach that was open within striking distance of Woodapitlock. That's all closed now, you know. But back then it was all open. You know,
Same here.
all the tributaries on East Grand Lake. You take a lake 13 miles long. There's quite a few tributaries around that. You know,
all running with smelt in the end of April.
Yeah, so about 2 o'clock, you know, after we had lunch, we'd have to take a power nap, and then we'd be ready to go for another night.
It's the same way up on the Fish River chain of lakes. There are no brooks. There was one a few years ago, one on Long Lake, and now there's zero.
Yep.
And when I grew up, you could go to a number of different brooks and dip for smelt.
We don't see the fishermen though like we used to. Either.
Nope. Nobody
lakes
goes
used to
like
be,
they
you'd
used
see
to.
guys, boats everywhere.
Yep.
And we'll go. Sometimes we're the only boat on the lake.
Yeah. Yeah, it was nothing to go to Square Lake and dozens of boats, and now we go over and a lot of times, Paul, we're the only
It's just
ones.
us.
Or then later on you'll see 2 or 3 come up the shore, but nothing like it used to be when I was young.
I don't know, Joe, what you think, but a lot of guys your age, do you see many out and about doing this stuff? Or
Yeah,
a lot of my friends.
Yeah, I think especially in the fishing in my area, I think people the winter fishing's still real popular in my way, but I think people fish a lot less in lake fishing.
Hunting as well.
I think hunting is near as as it was when I was younger.
I know a lot of my friends, they get busy with families and work, and
Life gets in the way.
It's like they don't have
life gets in the way.
They don't have time to fit it in.
Yeah,
and
I probably shouldn't go there, but I will, and you can edit it out. But
God, you're putting a lot of
the family
making
dynamics.
me do a lot of work.
The family dynamics are different now. Wives put a lot more responsibility on husbands than they did back in my father's day or my day or my grandfather's day. they're not quite so understanding about the male of the house going off and doing his thing while they have a child or two or three to be taken care of.
Yeah.
That was different generations ago.
That's how we ended up with the dog.
Yeah.
Lacey had worked on me she wanted a lab. It's a lot of work,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, having it. And I'm like, I don't know. I just see stuff it would be great to go hunting and stuff, but I'm like, man, I don't know.
So what are you going to do with the dog when you come up to the camp this weekend?
Well, Mom said she'd come.
Oh,
Yeah. And
She didn't tell me that.
I don't know. So she was on like 5 years, Joe. And then this past fall, I'm heading over to camp from work, and she's like, you know, so and so, their litter actually had 2 yellow labs. Wasn't supposed to. Can we get one of them? I'm like, I don't think it's a really good time right now. She's like, you've been hunting all month, and I hardly see you. You're going to be gone for a week, and I'm like, go ahead.
Yeah.
Are you serious? Are you?
yeah.
Like, yeah, go ahead. That was.
There's
Good
definitely
trade.
some negotiation that goes on. I
Yeah,
don't
she-
know, Joe, your
She
situation.
caught
but
me at a weak moment. It was
Yeah.
hunting season.
Yeah. You're fortunate in so much as your wife likes that stuff, Joe.
Yeah, that helps for sure.
She
Yeah,
loves
she's
the
great.
outdoors.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, since we're talking about your wife, she's got a YouTube channel.
She does.
Is there any competition?
Oh, not too
No?
bad. No, no, she does her. I don't like I say the.
She's doing well.
Yep, absolutely. She does. She
doing
does
really
real
well.
well. She adds a whole different viewpoint on things.
Yeah.
You know, a lot different. I more just say something and state the facts, and she, you know, and you know, I look at, you know, if you follow one of my deer things, you see tracks and you see scrape, then you see rub, and then maybe you see deer, and then she, you know, she might see ice crystals, or she might see a mushroom growing, you know, a lot of stuff that's great, you know, but I just would, you know, just
Yeah.
my mindset. I'd never.
You're
fuck
after
it.
the deer.
That's right.
You're focused.
But she gets some great shots and great footage, and
Yeah.
she has a lot of good followers for sure.
And
So I shouldn't. Does she have more subscribers than you, Joe?
Oh yeah, she's got way more than I do.
Oh, no
Yeah,
kidding.
Yeah.
last time I saw
think-
it was like 7,000 something, wasn't it?
Yeah, she must be up around 8,000, I
Yeah.
think now. Yeah. Oh yeah, she's probably got 4 times as many as I do. Yeah, she does it real good.
I
Yeah,
didn't
she
mean
had
to-
one bushcrafting one there that went. I think it's got maybe 150,000 views.
Wow.
No
Yeah,
kidding.
Went real big there.
I didn't want to
Bush
pick that scab, Joe, but
Oh no, that doesn't bother me. That's all right.
He's like,
I
I'm gonna ride her coattails all the way to
That's
the
right. I wish she'd get 20 million. so that I could
exactly,
just say-
absolutely, yeah. What's good for her is good for you, isn't
Yeah,
it,
that's
Joe?
right,
Yeah, that's a
exactly.
smart way of looking at it.
That's right.
That is
Yeah.
a smart way of
No,
looking
she-
at it. For
She
sure.
does great for sure.
Now you guys homeschool.
We do homeschool.
yeah.
Yeah.
How's that going? What made you decide to?
I mean, we're pretty conservative family, you know. We're churchgoers and things like that.
Yep.
We don't really like the way a lot of the education system goes, and there's a lot of things that we just soon children find out when they're a little older than they do than they was. We don't try to shelter them completely from the world, you know, but they.
Yep.
I think that there's a lot of things that kids shouldn't be introduced
Exposed
to
to.
nowadays. Exposed to that they're exposed to at a pretty young age, and
Or at all?
yeah, or at all. Yeah.
I don't think it's
Yeah.
a school's purpose to be teaching a lot of
Yeah.
the things that they're introducing to these kids. Ever. It should happen at home.
Yeah, we'll probably send them to school in high school, but we'd
Yep.
like to be able to lay a good, strong
Foundation.
foundation before they get a whole bunch thrown at them, and then they can
Good for you,
they
Joe.
can go
Yeah.
go how
Because
they want.
we're 100% on board with everything you just said.
Yep.
100%.
We do the same. We get 3 kids, like you, and it started out. I don't know. Was it 2018? We're like, well, we'll homeschool, take it year by year, and then as things changed there,
Mhm.
19, 20, and Lydia, our oldest, who was the only one being homeschooled at the time, she didn't know any different, right? So things continued as usual, and yeah, it's probably one of the best things. And there's such a huge homeschooling community now.
Yeah.
There's so many people doing it.
Oh yeah,
Lacey she started a homeschooling group in the county, and where they meet, I think once a week or whatever, and they'll go to the science center, or have some sort of function, have someone come in. They've got a facility that they use, and the interest has been skyrocketing.
Yep.
Um,
absolutely.
but it's a lot of work. I'm sure
It is.
your wife at the end of the day
oh yeah,
is
Yeah.
probably pulling her hair out.
oh more than that.
I'll
Yeah.
get home from work.
Pulling Joe's hair out.
That's right. Yeah,
I get home from work, and Lacey will be like, I need an adult to talk to.
Yeah.
And of course, I've been talking to adults all day. And I'm like, I just need some quiet time.
Yeah. Yep.
It's like, yeah.
That is fantastic, Joe.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you do any of it, Joe?
I
With
don't
her, or
do
you
too
just
much.
kinda-
I don't do too much because my job has me going to and fro on the road because I'll be
Right.
gone sometimes a day or two a week. Depend different times.
Okay.
Yeah, because I'm in project manager for a construction company,
Okay.
so been traveling around quite a bit. But
Just Maine or?
Maine mostly.
Okay.
Yep. But
What kind of projects? guys
the
do?
last 3 years we've been rebuilding a bunch of the piers down at Bath Ironworks.
Oh, no kidding.
Yep. They're getting pretty dilapidated down
Yeah.
there. So we did some big, heavy marine construction
Wow.
there and rebuilt some piers. We put up a couple new buildings for them.
Okay.
Yep. I've been pretty much there for 3 years, but being in management and not out in the field anymore, I can kind of come and go. So
Yep.
I get a lot more days at home than I did when I used to work construction. I'd be, leave on Sunday night and not come back till Friday night.
Oh,
and then,
Lord, yeah.
that was
That's hard.
I
with
wasn't going to hang with it very long, but I was able to progress up through pretty quickly, so
That's
that
good.
now I can come and go quite a bit. But,
It's hard with the family.
oh yeah, absolutely.
If you're going to be gone,
yeah,
You have 3 kids.
3 kids.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's what I had. Two boys and a little girl.
Yep, that's right.
keep you busy, I bet.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And I know I've watched your channel there, Joe. You and your wife are really good with them there. That
Yep.
really the cute kids and really good kids.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They definitely get us aggravated
Well,
sometimes.
they're kids.
but it's not
They're
not always
kids.
like
They're
it looks
not
like.
supposed to sit down and be quiet all the time. I mean,
Yeah, that's right.
once in a while they get a hook in the finger.
Yeah, that's exactly.
That,
yeah.
yeah, but you are. I've watched the channel and I've noticed that and marveled at it.
And
they're
investing
really
in
good
your kids is,
Oh yeah.
oh man.
Especially the middle boy. He's all about the outdoors. The older
Is
one
he?
likes it too, but the middle one, he's
The one
Oh,
who
yeah.
caught his finger.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he is. You can tell that for sure. That he was getting that hook in his finger. That wasn't going to stop him from fishing.
No, absolutely
No,
not.
he was going
No.
right back at it.
No.
Yeah.
So your wife stays home with the kids,
Yep.
and that's
absolutely.
another. That's a sacrifice in itself.
That is, yes.
That I think a lot of people aren't willing to make because they want a second income, and it takes a lot of sacrifice
Oh yeah.
to want to do it. Because I think a lot of people they like the break,
Yep.
right? They go to work and they they're not stuck with their kids all day, and then too the financial aspect is it's a financial burden to have just one person
Right.
stay home.
And
But
it's shameful now that the world that they look down on that.
Absolutely.
Being a homemaking wife. Oh, you're
Oh my goodness!
just
my,
a homemaking wife.
my
It's
wife.
way more
Don't say
important
that
than
to
anything.
Lacey.
Yeah,
My
it's
wife
way
would-
more important than anything.
she
that
tells me
goes-
all the time, I work harder than you.
Yeah,
that's
my,
right. Exactly.
my wife also, Joe. She was a stay-at-home mom, and she would love. And she's always said that
yeah.
that's one of the tougher jobs, and so. I always said my children were very fortunate to have a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
They get out of school and
Yep.
and have a mom at the door waiting
Right.
for them.
We was talking earlier about the poor wages of the wardens. The mothers a lot of times don't get to see their reward until 15, 20 years down the road,
Yeah,
But
when they
they'll-
get to see what their kids produce into,
Yeah,
They
exactly.
don't, in the time,
We're still waiting for Paul to produce into something, but
Someday.
Yeah.
they'll-
but we're hopeful, Joe.
Yeah,
They
that's
had
right.
one that
But
turned out
he's
okay.
better
so.
realize I'm almost 65. I don't have forever.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
They benefited from having a stay-at-home mom.
Yep.
My children did.
Absolutely.
And I got to tell you, I didn't like it at the time. I thought, she could, the extra income we could always use and stuff. But now that's looking back, it was the best thing by far.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have been able to name one thing you bought with the money you made.
You're absolutely
You're
right.
right,
That's
Joe.
right.
You're
Yeah.
absolutely right,
Yep.
Joe.
You'd waste it on something else.
Yeah,
that
that's right.
Yeah,
didn't matter.
you
Yep.
are absolutely right.
Yep.
And it seems like we're a dying breed, Joe. It seems like we're the minority now.
Oh yeah.
It
Yeah.
seems like we're fighting an uphill battle and stuff that
Yep.
with the world. You had mentioned that, and I told you I do not watch TV. We do not watch any TV.
Yep.
I choose what I watch and stuff. So FBM Outdoors and things like that are the
That's a good
Yep.
one.
yeah.
Oh,
Those
yeah.
are the things I choose to watch, and I don't I keep the influence of the world as little as
At a
possible
minimum.
in my life.
Mm-hmm.
So, Joe, what's going on currently with you? You bear hunting, trapping?
Yep.
You-
Yeah. So I actually had a real slow year. I've been bear baiting since the season opened, but it was real slow. I noticed it was kind of spotty what I saw on like the Facebook groups. Some people were the same way, but everything is booming this year as far as natural feed.
Right.
In our area anyways.
Yeah.
All the apples are loaded, all the nuts, all the berries.
And that has a big effect on it.
Yep. And we, was it 2 weekends ago, we picked some blackberries and they were waning off pretty good then. So, and then I just started having a couple hits on my baits this weekend when I checked. So things are starting to pick up there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Have your bait sites been in for a few years, Joe? Have you had them for a while?
Two of them. I got 2 new ones this year, and then two ones that I've had for numerous years.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, because I've never done it, but I read a lot about it and stuff, and sometimes aren't new sites hard to get established? I mean, because bear tend to go back to the ones that have been there for.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
For sure, yep.
Yeah. I've never set up a bait site, so I don't. But it seems to me I've heard that.
The funny thing is, I don't know if you saw any of the trail cam videos I posted online, but I bought a piece of property that I was just planning to resell. I got a good deal on it. It's a nice camp lot,
Yeah.
And when I was walking around it, I found a nice game trail going across the center of it. It's beat right down to the mud. Is
it no longer for sale?
no, it's actually going to sell here this week.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, but I put trail cams on that, and boys, I got some nice buck pictures.
I saw the box.
Yeah, I followed them right from the time they was
Were
in
those
velvet.
$2? I couldn't tell if it was.
Yeah, $2 nose to tail. Yeah,
Oh,
well,
no
almost
kidding.
nose to tail. But the funny thing is, on that trail I bought that property in early June through to mid-July, I had 5 different bears on that trail. A sow and 2 cubs, maybe 125, and then one probably 250 or 300.
Okay.
I put a bait in there. I've had one bear about 100 pounds.
No way.
One night.
Where the heck they go?
I don't know.
To the already established bait site.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think,
They head back. I think they do. I think they know where those bait sites were in years past and where the donuts are.
Yeah.
They're just like you and I. We know where we.
So September 1st just went by. So now the bear snaring trapping season is open. So that's what I usually do, because even if I get some coming, half the time that's at nighttime. So and I don't have a huge amount of time to set every evening. So I usually snare them because I like to I like to use them. It's not just the experience. Like bears is the most versatile animal I like because I use everything on there. I like to do the bear grease and all that, the soap and the meat and everything.
It's funny you mentioned that. I talked to a lot of outdoorsmen that their wives, the only wild game they'll eat is bear meat. It's delicious. And I can only, I guess, the reason why their wives like it is it doesn't have the gamey flavor that deer and moose do. And I kind of like the gamey flavor, but it was delicious stuff.
Yep.
And so you use you render down the fat?
Oh yeah. That's I like that almost as much as I do the meat.
What do you do with the?
We use it because it's unbelievably shelf stable once you render it down. You can keep it right on a mason jar, right on your sideboard all summer if you wanted, and it's almost a flavorless cooking fat.
No kidding.
It's excellent for pie crust and pastries. Just to cook in your frying pan. Excellent for your boots.
No,
I've made a bunch of soap last year with it. You can use it, make soap.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I remember hearing a podcast, and I forget where it was, a guy talking about that. And I think it was chemically, it's almost similar, almost identical to olive oil.
It probably is.
He was talking about how, he uses that fat for like everything.
Yep.
And I always had the idea that bear fat was like, had a bad flavor to it, but that's not so.
They say that bear fat, more than other animals, will take on the flavor of whatever it's eating.
Yep.
So a lot of people, if they got into the bears that got into the old trash dumps years ago, or ones that been eating on carcasses a lot, I guess that can give it a off. Or I guess a lot of the bears, like up in Alaska, that's on the coast, that's eating those mussels and fish all the time. The fats can be a lot worse. Whereas they say like the ones they get down east in blueberry grounds. They say you can almost smell blueberry in the fat.
Kidding.
The fat really takes on whatever they're eating. But most of mine
is it a lot
smell
of work?
like jelly donuts.
Is it? It's a win-win.
I like jelly donuts.
Yeah, jelly donut. No, it doesn't really smell like that. But I've heard people say they've had bad bears. That you can't. You just cook them. You can't stand it in the house. But I've never had one.
Yeah,
I'm sure they're not. something happened. I don't know if it was in the handling or whether it was the bear
That's a good
itself.
point.
But
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That could be, the way somebody
lot of factors
processes it.
if you don't get all that fat off the meat when you put it in the freezer, that fat will go rancid right in the freezer, not rendered down on the meat. And that'll really give you meat. But you got to get all trim that real
That's
good.
what I've heard, Joe.
Yeah.
I've never butchered
Maybe-
one, but I've heard that.
Maybe that's where I get the idea where, rendering down the fat would be. So I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, everyone says you got to get the meat all
That's
nice
exactly
and clean.
right.
Yeah.
You would associate that with, you wouldn't want to eat the fat or whatever.
But is it a lot of work to do all that?
To render?
Yeah.
No, I pretty much just collect all the fat and then I put it in I've done it in like 1-inch cubes. But then I also, I think in the video that I did online a couple years back, I did a
I
bear
remember
fat
that.
rendering.
I forget.
I run it through my grinder because you can get a lot more yield out of it if you grind it because you can render it down a lot more than it can if it's in cube.
Okay.
Because after you get all the fat rendered out, you get what they call a crackling, which is just a piece of meat and
Okay.
left or whatever won't render out.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
call those cracklings, like if you cook down salt pork,
Yeah.
to get all the grease
Yeah.
out of it.
Yeah.
And I just put all that right in a crock pot.
Yeah.
Just set it
Let it
on
go.
set it on medium high and just let it go. And then when it won't go anymore, I just dump it through a cheesecloth
No kidding.
into jars.
Yeah.
And it changes a lot by the different bears or different colors.
Yeah.
The fat. And it's funny. I don't know if you ever listened to any of like Clay Newcomb from he's a Bear Grease podcast. He's part of the Meat Eater group. I don't know if you ever heard of him, but he's
No.
a big bear guy. He used to be the editor of Bear Hunt magazine. Anyways, somebody made this chart that shows all different jars of bear fat and tells you how to predict the weather by it. Because what you do is in your jar it's all clear, and then the bottom you get a little bit of solids that settles out.
Yeah.
And I thought it was crazy. I don't know if you can tell what the weather's going to be, but you set those on the windowsill, and definitely day to day, those
They
things change.
Yeah.
They'll make a big cone, and then they'll settle up
No
one
kidding.
side of the jar. So I printed off the chart. Maybe I'll post it on I've shared it on Facebook before. I'll share it again. But it's supposed to tell you what the weather's going to do by looking at those solids in the bottom of your jar of bear fat.
Yeah. Yeah. You could document it.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
confirm whether it's.
It's got to be the weather that change it, probably the high and low pressures. But
Yeah.
those solids are changing all the time in that jar, for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Where I heard a guy talking about it was, I think it was Big Woods Bucks podcast. They had someone that I think he had like a supplement line or some sort of health food line.
Oh yeah.
It was years ago. And anyway, he got on the subject of bear and it being his favorite meat.
Yeah.
And yeah, all the things that he did with the fat. And I was like, no kidding.
I think that was that
Like,
Daniel Vitalis from Wild Fed. I think that's what.
Yes,
Yep.
exactly.
Is that Wild Fed show on
Yes.
the Outdoor Channel, I think.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. And that kind of was what I'm like, gosh, I've had a number of people tell me the very same thing
Yep.
that he's saying. I'm like, so there's going to be a ring of truth to this. So
I think it was real super popular, like through Appalachia and the Appalachian Mountains. I never knew. I knew a lot of people hunted bears when I was younger, but I didn't know many that rendered fat.
Yeah.
I don't think. Maybe years ago it was more popular in Maine, but today I don't think it's that popular.
I'll touch on that, Joe, just a little bit from what I remember, and I had a very limited, outdoor world when I was a kid. But as I remember, nobody hunted bear they were vermin when I was young.
yeah, it was,
I don't know if Phil, your mentor, ever talked about that. If he ever hunted bear, the only time somebody would shoot a bear is an incidental bear when they were out deer hunting.
Yep.
That's the only time that and then the bear ended up in the trash.
Yep.
They may take the cape and make a bear rug out of it. Not the cape, but the fur, and make a bear rug out of it. But nobody targeted bear, as far as I remember, when I was young.
Yep.
This is going back into the 60s and stuff,
Oh yeah.
So Phil, would be a good one to because he lived that era.
Yep.
But as I remember, Dad talking about bear and seeing, and nobody bear hunted. There was no baits. There was nobody out baiting bear or anything.
Right.
And if somebody did shoot one when they were out deer hunting, they usually threw it in the trash there
Yeah.
yeah.
on the dump pile.
You read those old books like Daniel Boone and them, during the market hunting days.
Yeah.
That's where they got some of the biggest part of the money from the bears was. But they'd sit and have a bunch of bears piled up, and they'd render fat for days there on the open fire, and they would take deer skins and make
Containers
containers to hold it in.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, there's big money in the grease.
So that's kind of the interesting thing of how things changed, Joe, over the years, like I say.
Yep.
But you would know too, because you would read articles.
Yeah.
And you don't read any articles about people going bear hunting back in the 60s and stuff. It became big with out-of-staters and outfitters became big business.
Yeah.
Putting out baits and attracting these out-of-staters to come up and go bear hunting for a weekend. That's how they made their money, outfitters.
Yep.
With bear guiding.
Yep.
Then we'll be into bird season.
Yep.
You do a lot of bird hunting.
I do a fair amount. That's good to get the kids started in.
You're
you know,
exactly right.
That's
a good introduction.
Lately we've been getting about one bird to every box of 410 shells. That's about $50 a bird nowadays.
With the 410 shells, they're expensive.
They are. Yeah.
But the experience is priceless.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yep.
We were talking about that the other day. I remember my first bird like it was yesterday. It was probably 8 or 9 when I shot my first bird at the camp, right in the camp dooryard. Never forget that.
No.
With a 410.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So
they won't forget that either. Your kids.
My oldest there, he got his first turkey this spring there, and we bought those. You got to buy those special shotgun shells now. Those TSS to use a 410 for them, and those are $40 for 5 shells.
Oh my god!
So we didn't do any target practice.
No,
we shot the regular ones for target
You didn't pattern the gun, did you?
No, but we got him in tight, and boy, they say they can shoot out to 50 yards with those with a
410.
They got a special turkey gun they shoot that far with, but we just used his regular one at 20 yards. Folded him right up.
No
but
kidding.
they got that tungsten shot in it.
Yeah.
You know, they're 3-inch, and they got
that's impressive.
They're quite a load, but I hate $8 a shot. That seems a little.
No, I've never heard of that. Hunting turkey with the 410.
Yeah,
I've heard of going down as low as 20 gauge with turkey shells and stuff, but
it's even getting pretty popular with adults now because they say that this new 410 I think Stevens makes one of the most popular one. It's just for turkeys. It's got the nice choke,
right,
and it's got a Picatinny rail, so you can put a red dot on it and all that. But they're shooting out 45, 50 yards with that.
410.
That's a long way.
Yeah, better. Wow. They say it's better than a 20 gauge.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Holds a tighter pattern.
Yeah.
And
that would be it's all in the pattern.
Yeah, that's right.
In the pattern together. Yeah.
But we just had the old. I don't know if it's a old Harrington representative, no choke, but we got him in close enough, so worked good.
I got to get you that little 20 gauge too. Yeah. I got a youth model 20 gauge that I started my kids on back in the day. I got to get it to Paul there. So
Lydia shot a few with her 22. Yeah. It's a little 22 Rascal Savage.
Oh yeah.
The peep sight.
Yeah, we got one of those. Yeah,
she's pretty good with it. Kind of scary. I'm like, I think she can shoot it better than I can.
Yeah, my middle son, we went to the, I'm not a guide, but I support the Maine Guides Association. We went to their big banquet there this winter, and he won one of those Big Woods Bucks Lever Action 22s.
Is that a Henry?
Henry, yeah.
Those
comes with the Skinner peep on it, so he's been shooting that. But it's still a little long for him still. Yeah. He's pretty small for his age. That's the problem with kids. It's hard to find them something that, because even we've got a little 410, and poor Lydia is like,
well, that's an adult, but the 20 gauge I have is a youth model, so it has a shorter stock on it and stuff, and that'll work out. It does kick a little bit. So.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Those 20 gauges are awful funny. Some of them, they kick like a
This
mule.
one does.
They do.
This one does, Joe. At least it does. I don't like shooting it.
No.
I don't like shooting it.
I always shot a 16 gauge, and my 16 gauge kicks half as much as some of the 20 gauges I shot. I don't know what it is about
16 gauge is a good.
Yeah, that's a good all around.
Good bird gun.
all around.
I had a buddy that he swore by it.
Yep.
He loved it, and didn't really miss any birds with it.
No, they work good.
He swore by it. So then we'll be into deer season.
Oh yeah, sure.
And you'll be busy then.
Yep.
And that's our favorite.
Yeah.
Isn't it, Joe?
It is.
That's our favorite for sure.
And it goes by so fast.
Everything builds up to that, and then we're inside for, well, unless you ice fish and stuff, we're inside up here for 6 months, for crying out loud.
Especially if you work. If if someone doesn't have vacation time and just have weekends, they've got just a handful of days to deer hunt. Yeah, and it's over.
Yep. I always usually take 2 weeks. I always usually took the week before and Thanksgiving week. But this year I changed it up a little bit. I took Thanksgiving week, and then I took Muzzle loader.
Yeah.
Yep. Because I was going to, because I had been staying over at Parlin there, over at Joe
Yep.
Cruzy's lodge over
Yep.
on Parlin Lodge.
I was going to ask you that. You
Yeah.
said you went towards Jackman there, and I knew
Yeah.
you kind of know those boys
Yep.
there,
Oh, yeah.
Hal and
Yep.
and Joe and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've been doing that American plan over there, which, I mean, it's not super expensive, but you don't have to worry about cooking. You know,
Just
you come
show
home
up.
and they cook your meals. Then you go out and hunt yourself. You know,
Yeah.
you're not guided.
Yeah.
But then I got the idea that I was going to try to put in for some. I've always wanted to go out west and try a little hunting.
Yeah.
So I was going to put in for some tags. So I didn't rebook over there, so I lost my spot. And then they had the big winter die off out west this year. They lost all kinds of game out there,
Yes,
so
I
I
saw
decided
that.
not to go.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I got a spot with Joe over there for muzzleloader
Nice.
week. I'm going over there muzzleloader week.
We always
Yeah.
pick further in November, even though deer tracking is probably easier if you get snow earlier
Yeah.
in the month.
Yeah.
But more likely guaranteed snow.
Yeah. When
Thanksgiving week
when
or-
I was a working man back in the day, always Thanksgiving week,
Yeah.
Paul, we took.
Yeah.
Of course, back then there was no muzzleloader way
No,
way
right.
back, but
We did one year muzzleloader just because luckily works flexible with me. And we looked at the weather.
and I was retired, so it didn't matter. I could still hunt
and we
all
were like,
Thanksgiving
hey,
week.
let's
and-
try muzzleloader week because we're going to have snow. There's no snow Thanksgiving week. It's not looking
Yeah.
good weather-wise.
Yep.
But yeah, I called my boss up. Hey, can I do muzzleloader instead?
And you
of-"
got a deer that year.
We did, yeah.
Yeah. And I had a chance.
Yep.
Yeah. So, yeah, that worked.
We had
out.
snow. That was all that. Man, the snow just gets you fired up.
Oh, it does.
It doesn't matter. Even if someone's a stand hunter, even the guys at camp, remember them dad that
Yeah.
stand
Wait,
hunted? If there was snow on the ground,
Snow tells
Just-
everything.
gets you into
Yeah.
gear better.
Yeah. Snow, it's a whole different, the deer are even different
Yeah.
when the snow starts coming and they move more. And so,
Yeah, it's fun stuff.
deer activity, yeah, it's a whole different.
Last year, I tried something new with a muzzleloader, and late December, I went out to Western Mass out there in the Berkshires. I
Yes,
did 3 or 4 days out there because you can hunt with a muzzleloader
Yeah.
there right till the end of the year.
Yeah.
Now, there's a ton of public land out there. Surprised a lot of national forests.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So I just kind of, Hal had told me a couple spots to try, and
Yep.
I just kind of went out there by myself and got a hotel, and it was, I was only
What'd you
there for
think?
3 days. I
Were you in a
enjoyed it
deer?
once I found some spots that I
Yeah.
liked. But the first couple spots I went to, it's just all, 2-foot diameter oak as far as you can see, and hardly any underbrush.
Underbrush.
Oh,
yeah.
And it's so hard to get. You track the deer, but
Yep.
you can't get close to them. You know
No,
what I
you
mean?
see 'em-
You get to the next ridge and you see where they ran to the next ridge. Then when you get almost the next one, they run to the next ridge. But then the last day I was there, I found another national forest. They actually do a little cutting in, and that was a lot more like it is here. And
So you had
that's
some regen
Yep,
and stuff.
Yep. So I'm hoping to go back out for 3
Yeah.
or 4 days again
Nice.
this year at the end of December. And got this. I've been over to Jackman now. I don't know. I spent 3 or 4 weeks over there now, and I'm starting to.
Exactly. You got something
Yeah.
to work with.
Yeah, I've always been the kind of person that I hunt the same areas over and over, and I learn that area. I
Right.
don't bounce around all the time. If I find a spot that there's a lot going on,
Right.
Yeah.
When I say a spot, I say
Big area.
yeah, 10 square miles
Yes.
or something,
Yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. We
Yeah.
did the same thing, Paul, when
So
we
6
were,
square mile.
we used to go out to in the Allagash there.
Oh, yeah,
But
we
we
had-
could end up 30 miles from, but
Yeah.
we knew the area 30 miles away and
Yeah.
stuff. And
Yeah.
we were really, we concentrated on one area.
Yep.
But that didn't mean that we wouldn't try other areas. And
we covered a lot of territory in between.
That's what I'm
Mhm.
saying.
Because, some days you go out and on your way there, well, that's a nice buck track. See ya.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Never
right.
hunted there before, but
Yeah.
there's a good track.
Pick me up on your way back
Yeah.
by. A lot
Yeah.
of guys had done that at camp.
Yeah, and shot deer.
And you're heading back out to bluegrass.
Yep,
Catch
we're gonna-
music and
we're
then
gonna
going
catch,
home.
catch a few of those, and we're hoping to get back just before dark so we can put our snare out
There you
before
go.
dark.
There you go. We'll,
So you're not camping up here
No, we just came up for the
because a
afternoon.
lot of campers there, aren't there, Joe? A lot of people go out there and camp.
Oh,
for
I
the
think
week.
they do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I say, this is the
Yeah.
first time I've been to this one. I've always gone to the one down in Sydney area there.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I when you were saying you were coming up, I envisioned you camping out and stuff for the weekend. I think that's what a lot of people do, but you're
Yeah.
just up for the day.
Oh yeah, I'm trying to keep
So-
all the
so-
onions in the fire. I
So
wanna
we're
bet-
eating into your day right now.
Oh,
big
you're
time.
all right. You're all right. This is all part of.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like Paul said, we really enjoyed having you and stuff. You're a great guy. So,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. All righty. So until next time, get outside.
it's good for the soul.
See ya.